Something else that when I was touring buildings, that was another like really key thing was power requirements, and that different buildings could be essentially ruled out just for not having enough power. And I was wondering if there have been circumstances where a client likes a building so much that they're willing to go through with leasing a building even without the right power requirement, and how much of like a cost and how pricey it is to get the power up to their desired level.
Yeah, power is one of those things that I would say is more commonly misunderstood than fire suppression and then almost anything. Just in that nobody is an electrician that
Yeah.
works in these buildings, nor are we. However, people who have run an operation for a long period of time are very well versed in electricity. And then the need is often nebulous. And so when you need a building and you need to have a certain power requirement, why do you need that specifically? And I found that's where there's a lot of like a back of the napkin budgeting that turns out not to be as black and white as previously anticipated. When you think of what is power used for, it's used for machines, it's used for manufacturing most oftentimes. And that's where like a high power requirements come from. And that whether it's aerospace or automotive or life science, those are some of the more common ones in the engineering and the heavy manufacturing operations. It's all about like a capacity. And are you able to run all of your machines all at the same time? Nobody runs all of their machines all at the same time. Many people run many of their machines at certain frequencies and cadences. And so it's really hard to judge sometimes of what is your process and then what does that usually entail? What loads at what times? And thankfully, there's increasing technology that I'm still learning about that can, like in the age of the Internet of Things and sensors, you can now monitor your usage and your draw
Yeah.
per machine now. Should you choose to do so, this is part of like your efficiency consulting or part of businesses continuing to evolve and adapt. But if you know how often you're using which machines and in what intervals and during what times of day and with which shifts, and you can layer all those together, you can have a very high level and nuanced conversation about power and make sure that what is in the building is sufficient, which is what you're solving for. But oftentimes, the very uninitiated just say, I've got these 40 machines and they each need X amount of amps and add them all up. And that's how much I need. And
Mm.
very frequently, you find that what you actually, the load that you're drawing on, I'm not sure it's half, but there's always a lot of room between the first back of
Sure.
the napkin and the detailed analysis. And so with power, it's one of the few things that is also very expensive and usually in the couple $100,000 range. And I think what's difficult about adding power to buildings is that it's not about manpower and finding a great vendor and designing it and implementing it. You now have the public utility involved. So now you have someone that's less in your control, that's not rewarded for your success. And as what is important and urgent to you may not be important or urgent to them. So oftentimes the lead time to upgrade power is in months and years, not in like
Hmm.
days and weeks or weeks and months. And then above and beyond that is what's it take to bring in the power and where is electricity? Where's it coming from? Where's it go to? And in order to increase it, what do you need? What infrastructure do you need to beef up, so to speak? And gone are the days of the electrical lines in the sky and the transformer box on a wooden pole. And usually it's you've got the infrastructure in the ground and it's in the middle of the street or on the edge of the property. And are you trenching to get to it? And is this trenching taking you into the public domain or through sidewalks or through parking lots or through the tilt wall panel and then into the building itself? And then where to the building? To the far end of the building or the close end? And so I'm by no means an expert on it, but it's amazing once you open that up, there's a lot more than meets the eye.
Definitely. That's literally exactly what I was going to say. In kind of this entire industry, there's much more than what meets the eye. And
We're not
seems,
electricians and we're
yeah,
not racking people and we're not architects and we're not office designers or interior decorators. We're not furniture vendors.
it definitely seems like one of the most important things in this industry is building the right team. And that's what we're going to cover in chapter 5.